Good morning and welcome. Please be seated. I want to welcome you all here this morning and want to introduce Dr. Rao, who's the steering committee chair, and President Rippage of the University of New England, who will be helping us with these proceedings. And good morning and welcome to the 51st annual Deborah Morton Convocation ceremony. My name is Karen Gregory, and I'm the Vice Chairwoman of the University of New England's Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the trustees, I'd like to thank you all today for coming and joining us in this wonderful tradition. We are here to honor 4 outstanding Maine women. Here to receive today's awards are Susan Carlisle, Donna Lee Litchfield Cheney, Chief Brenda Commander, Dr. Wendy Wolf. The Deborah Morton Convocation and Awards Ceremony is an honored tradition that began 51 years ago. You will find further information printed in your program, and momentarily, Dr. Esther Rao, the chair of the Deborah Morton Society, will share the history of this prestigious award and society. You will also hear from Dr. Rao. This 19th century woman, Deborah Morton, was quite progressive for her time. We hope that our students will take what they have learned here and improve their surrounding communities the way Deborah Morton and our award recipients here today and those who have won in the past have done. I know you will join me in celebrating their remarkable accomplishments. It is now my pleasure to introduce the woman who chaired the committee that chose today's award recipients, 2008 Deborah Morton Award winner, Dr. Esther Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Gregory, and to the members of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, President Rippage, members of the Deborah Morton Society, Society honorees of 212, honored guests, on behalf of the steering committee of the Deborah Morton Society, which I have had the honor to convene as chair, I bid you welcome and thank you for choosing to share this day with us. During my tenure as a member of the steering committee for the past 3 years and as chair for 1 year, I have learned that one of the great privileges of committee membership is the opportunity to review the resumes and many biographies of a large number of women of distinction whose names have been submitted by members of the Board of Trustees of this university and by members of the Deborah Morton Society. As we read these life stories, we have in our mind the example provided by the life of Deborah Morton, a significant figure in this institution's history, beginning in 1876 as a student and extending through the 1940s, through the transition of Westbrook Seminary to Westbrook Junior College. In her comments to this convocation last year, Mrs. Healy reminded us how Deborah Morton lived her life. She was a teacher, she said, dean, linguist, historian, and prominent Portland civic leader. Deborah Morton studied abroad and traveled frequently to Europe and the Middle East. She championed equal rights for women on social, political, and economic levels. Her approach to life was never to stop doubting, testing, and evaluating the world around her. She left a huge imprint on our students and on this university. The 4 women who are chosen for recognition each year follow in her footsteps and continue to live and to act in the spirit of Dean Morton's life and work. These women represent a minute fraction of the women of Maine who spend their lives, like Deborah Morton, in service to this state, this country, and this world. How fortunate we are to look carefully at the activities and accomplishments of women who are nominated for this award. I come away after each reading humbled by their dedication, enthusiastic about the quality and the variety of work that women do, and eager to recognize and celebrate their accomplishments. One can see how, over the years, women's work has transitioned from traditional venues celebrated in the early days of the society to encompass the entire locale of today's world of work. Women deliver health care at all levels of the healthcare system, and they teach at all levels of our educational institutions. They perform and direct the activities of others in every conceivable employment of life. They are mothers, fundraisers, judges, university administrators, priests, board members, entrepreneurs, engineers, legislators, and performers in a variety of art forms. And wherever they are, whatever they are doing, women are succeeding magnificently and reshaping the world. We appreciate the opportunity we have today to recognize, to celebrate, to praise the 4 women who have been chosen this year to be honored for their contributions. They are special, but they are not unique. They are representatives of the hundreds of Maine women who spend their lives in service to others. But we believe that this quartet here assembled represents the best of those nominated this year for admission into this incredible group of Maine women who live in the spirit of Deborah Morton. We rejoice that these 4 live among us. Bless us with their gifts. We wish for them continued pride in their work, success in their endeavors, and peace in their hearts.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. I'd now like to invite to the podium Dr. Danielle Rippich, the president of the University of New England.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming to share this wonderful event, and to our Vice Chair of our Board of Trustees, Karen Gregory, for being here today to convene us. Also, a special thanks to Esther Rao for her leadership over this past year. The members of the Deborah Morton Steering Committee have a daunting task, as she explained to you. Selecting awardees, given the incredible standards that have been set and maintained each year, is not an easy task. The committee members who did such a wonderful job choosing this year's recipients are Dr. Esther Rao, Dodie Detmer, Chris Duty, Lori LaChance, Ruth Foster, Sister Mary Norberta, Geraldine Donahue Patterson, Dr. Catherine Pope, and Joan Benoit Samuelson, and Grace Valenzuela. And to these ladies, we owe a debt of gratitude. Thank you all. I enjoyed hearing Esther's story of the history of Deborah Morton and how this award has come about. We're entering the 6th decade now of giving Deborah Morton Awards. And it's interesting, I was going through some old papers in the process of a move, and I looked at my, at 51 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school, and I was trying to decide what career I might take. And my best friend's brother was in law school at the time at Ohio State University. I grew up in Ohio. So I said to him, I think I might go to law school. And he said, oh, don't do it. He said, there are only 2 girls in my class, and everybody's really mean to them. He said, you don't want to do that. He said, why don't you go be a teacher? And I thought of it, and I also, in a later conversation talking with a friend who eventually became the state Supreme Court Justice in South Carolina, talking about the 1960s. And she told me that in 1961, not only were women not admitted in the law school, but they could not serve on juries in South Carolina. It's hard for us to imagine the difference that 51 years ago, the difference in our country and in our state. But I believe that Dorothy Healy, it was truly visionary of her to decide that it was time to recognize the contributions of women in our society. It was a very different time. And here we are now, 51 years later, as I said, moving into the 6th decade of honoring Maine's women. It's the oldest annual award in the state recognizing the accomplishments of women. And so, having said that, we have with us pioneers and outstanding women in Maine, and I'd like to invite all of the previous Deborah Morton awardee winners to please stand so that we can acknowledge you. An impressive assemblage. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the Deborah Morton Society members who have passed since our last convocation. For Madeline Freeman and Eleanor Parker Merrill, let us take, please, a moment of silence. We will miss them greatly. Maine's women have a history of outstanding, thoughtful, courageous, and compassionate leadership. As we look at the Deborah Morton Award recipients from past years and the current year, we are all very proud of this tradition and the women who have been honored with this award. I hope that our students can be inspired by the Deborah Morton ideals and by the 4 women we are honoring today. It makes me very proud to know that our students volunteer, that they make civic leadership a part of their lives, and they're using their expertise to improve our world. The 4 awardees I'm about to introduce all inspire confidence in the belief that an individual can indeed make a difference. I will be making my introductions much briefer than their accomplishments warrant so that we will have enough time to hear from them. But please take time and read in your program about their outstanding achievements. And now I would like to invite our university trustee, Brian Dallaire, to step forward and present his Deborah Morton Award candidate.
Madam President, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it is my pleasure to present the 2012 Deborah Morton Award recipient, Susan A. Carlisle.
For more than 35 years, Susan Carlisle has been actively involved in many nonprofit organizations in the Bangor area. Soon after her arrival at Maine's Queen City, she began volunteering. Most of her volunteer work has focused on children and education. As a founding member of the Maine Discovery Museum, a hands-on children's museum in downtown Bangor, she chaired the successful $4.5 million capital campaign that led to its establishment. She has continued her service to the museum as chairman of their annual benefit, auctions, raising funds for scholarships, and crucial operating support for the museum. In 2006, she was recognized with the Those Who Care Award from WLBZ Television, and in 2001 received the International Rotary Club Paul Harris Fellow Award. The University of New England and the Deborah Morton Society are pleased to present Susan Carlisle with the Deborah Morton Award for 2012.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all. I'm extremely impressed with the Deborah Morton Society and with its members. I've worked with some of you, I've played with some of you, and some I've just admired from afar. And I have to tell you how pleased I am to be among you. Special thanks to one of my favorite role models, Willie Bradford. Willie, you've made such a difference in our community and in Maine, and I'm honored to know you. History is rife with stories about small events having a lasting impact. One tale that comes to mind involves the death of Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field in the year 1485. As the legend goes, a nail fell out of his horse's shoe, which resulted in the horseshoe falling off, which resulted in the horse stumbling, which resulted in the king falling to the ground. Without a leader, the battle was lost, and that resulted in the loss of a kingdom, all for the want of a horseshoe nail. Although definitely not on the same earth-shaking scale as that, I can think of some defining moments that have resulted in major impact in my own life. Of course, marrying my husband was chief among these. We started our life together in the Boston area in 1965 and lived there for about 10 years. When the opportunity arose for him to join the family business in Bangor, he thought long and hard, and eventually we decided to make the move. I was really, really nervous about going to Bangor. No, I didn't arrive kicking and screaming, but I wasn't very happy about leaving what I thought of as civilization either. What I didn't know at that time was that he was bringing me home. What a lovely word that is, home. To a place where we could live and prosper, a place I could finally say I was from. My father was a traveling salesman. No, not the kind referenced in the old stories, arriving at a farmer's house in the middle of a dark and stormy night in need of a place to sleep, but a professional with a family consisting of a wife, 3 kids, and an elderly mother-in-law. He was a good man, a very successful employee of the Armour Meat Company. But success leads to promotion, and each promotion meant a family move to a bigger and more important territory. During my growing up years, we never spent more than 2 or 3 years in any one place. I was an extremely shy child, and changing schools and making new friends came hard for me. I never felt I was a part of any community. That changed when we moved to Maine. As I became more and more involved in the Bangor community, I found I had friends everywhere, all over the state. Actually, the whole state of Maine sometimes seems like one large neighborhood. Have you ever noticed that when you're traveling and you tell people you're from Maine, not a city in Maine, but just Maine, they might say, "Oh, I know someone from Maine. Do you know?" And no matter where in Maine that person lives, you usually do. We're so lucky to live and work together in such a gloriously beautiful part of the world, with ocean, mountains, and lakes all within reach. Maine has a quality that made me want to stay here, a feeling that this is where I finally belonged. And like Barbara Cooney's Miss Rumphius, when you have found your place, you want to make it the best, most beautiful place it can possibly be. This leads me to my second defining moment, the day I said the word yes in February of 1999, when I was asked to co-chair the capital campaign to build what is now the Maine Discovery Museum in Bangor. I really don't know what prompted me to accept. I was as busy as a one-armed paper hanger with all sorts of other things. Our youngest son was in college, and we had no grandchildren customers at the time. But it sounded like so much fun, or too much fun. That was the campaign term we used. My imagination soared, and I just couldn't say no. Alas, another co-chairman did not materialize, so I ended up being what I like to call a solo co-chair. I must admit that sometimes during the campaign, it seemed that I had split those words in the wrong place and that I was really a solo co-chair instead. But times were good, and we managed to raise the necessary funds. I found I loved meeting people, and miracle of miracles, I found I loved asking for money, because I truly believed in the idea of the museum. I worked with scores of talented people and have some wonderful memories of those days. And the Maine Discovery Museum, the largest children's museum north of Boston, is now home to a myriad of ever-changing educational exhibits and programs, with over 60,000 visitors a year from all over the country and beyond, many of whom say it's the best children's museum they've ever attended. It is certainly an exciting place, and I'm happy and proud to have been a part of it. And if I can make a little plug here, Bangor itself is gaining a new vibrancy, with young people moving in or moving back, wanting to raise their families there. In addition to being home to 2 colleges and a university, the wonderful Bangor Public Library, the Penobscot Theater Company, the University of Maine Museum of Art, the Bangor Symphony Orchestra, one of the oldest continuously operating symphony orchestras in the country, the River City Cinema, which shows lesser-known films and presents outdoor movies during the summer, the Challenger Learning Center of Maine, and, yes, the Maine Discovery Museum. We also have events such as the Senior League World Series with athletes from all over the world, the National Folk Festival, which brings up to 120,000 visitors to Bangor for 3 music-filled days in August, the community happening called Kabang, showcasing alternative performance and visual arts, monthly green drinks and pacha-kacha nights, the Waterfront Concert Series, bringing major acts to our semi-permanent stage on the banks of the Penobscot River, and much, much more. There's serious talk of an outdoor amphitheater. There are new lighted pathways and outdoor sculpture. Art walks, festivals, and outdoor markets abound. New shops and restaurants are springing up downtown. It's an exciting place. If you haven't been there, or if it's been a while, come visit sometime. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you find. Again, I thank you for this honor. I look forward to working with the Deborah Morton Society to further educational opportunities for women, and I wish all of you a most successful academic year. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, very much for that informative talk, and I've learned a lot about Bangor, so I appreciate that. I would now like to call upon our University trustee, Sandy Goulden, to present her Deborah Morton Award candidate.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it is my pleasure to present the 2012 Deborah Morton Award recipient, Donna Lee Litchfield Cheney, class of '62.
Donna Lee Litchfield Cheney is the former chair and vice chair of the Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences, where her visionary leadership was key in providing the foundation for the laboratory to build its first world-class facility in East Booth Bay. She is a graduate, as you have just heard, of Westbrook Junior College, class of 1962, and since that time she's been actively involved with the college, having served as a member and former president of the Westbrook College Alumni Association, as well as a trustee of Westbrook College and the University of New England. In 1997, she was recognized with UNE's Tower Award for Outstanding Alumni Achievement. Most notable, however, is that she is an avid fly fisherwoman and holds a record, I'm impressed by this, the largest Atlantic salmon caught by a woman in the St. Paul River in Quebec. That's pretty good. Having said that, she is a Renaissance woman of many accomplishments, and the University of New England and the Deborah Morton Society are pleased to present Donna Lee Litchfield Cheney with the Deborah Morton Award for 2012.
Thank you, President Rippich, and a big thank you to the Deborah Morton Awards Society and the University of New England for this very prestigious award. I'd also like to thank Westbrook Junior College as well for the very solid education foundation that I received. It is with great pleasure and honor that I received this award as an alumna of that college. For the purpose of this award, I'm going to be talking about a very special situation that I had as chairman of the board of Bigelow Laboratories for Ocean Sciences. For those of you who don't know Bigelow Laboratories, it's a world-renowned marine research lab located in West Booth Bay Harbor in East Booth Bay, Maine. Its focus is the base of the food chain, phytoplankton, and for every other breath you take, you can thank phytoplankton and not just trees. In 2001, when I became chairman of the board of Bigelow, we all wanted Bigelow to have a home of its own. We've been providing world-class science out of rented facilities with very little room for growth, no opportunity for a deep water dock, and no opportunity for running seawater to go through the labs. We knew this was going to be a monumental challenge, so we decided the best thing we could do in my 4-year term was to try to set as strong a foundation as we possibly could upon which the lab could grow. To do that, we had to accomplish 4 goals. We had to do some fundraising. We had to sell property that had been given to us some 25 years earlier for the sake of a new laboratory, but wasn't conducive to one. We had to outright purchase new property, preferably in the Boothbay region in the state of Maine because of the economic impact the lab had on the region and the state. And we wanted to enter into a zoning contract that would allow us to build that laboratory years down the line if necessary. By the time I finished my term in 2005, we had done the fundraising for that project. We had sold the property. We had purchased 64 pristine acres in East Boothbay, Maine. We had our zoning contract, and we also had been working with an architect, so we had a general layout of the laboratory as we envisioned it. I stepped off the board, and about a year or so later received a call from the then chairman of the board asking if I would come back on a special assignment for 1 term only as the chairman again to manage the transition of executive directors. Dr. Sage was retiring, and we needed to find a new director who was able to lead us forward with our research as well as get that facility built. We found our person in Dr. Graham Shamil from Scotland, no less, who was a renowned marine research scientist, was in administration, and had the experience of building and expanding new laboratory facilities in Scotland. Today, only some 5 years later, we not only have that new executive director, we also have a 60,000 square foot facility in East Boothbay, Maine, excuse me, comprised of 3 scientific wings, 2 of which have been moved into. 1 will be moved into in the middle of November, and on top of that, we will be adding $17.5 million to the economy per year, which equates to some 223 full and part-time jobs. So it was worth building that strong foundation. Before I close, I'd like to thank my good friend Charlie Harriman, and I'd also like to welcome family and friends that are here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. It's interesting. We've heard so far from someone who built a children's museum, someone who's helped build a research laboratory. This is a group of builders. These women are making a difference. Now I'd like to invite Trustee Melinda Small to present her Deborah Morton Award candidate.
Madam President, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it is my great pleasure to present the 2012 Deborah Morton Award recipient, Chief Brenda.
Brenda Commander was elected in 1997 as the first woman chief in the history of the Holton Band of the Maliseet Indians. She continues to serve in that role, now in her 2nd term, overseeing the entire operations and functions of the Maliseet tribal government. In total, she has worked for the tribe for the past 30 years. Among her highest priority is advocating for the rights of Native children and their families. She has also been active in promoting prevention of issues relating to domestic violence and sexual assault in her community. Under her leadership, the tribe received funding to develop the Maliseet Domestic Violence Program, which led to the opening of an emergency shelter just 3 years ago. The University of New England and the Deborah Morton Society are very pleased to present Chief Brenda Commander with the Deborah Morton Award for 2012.
Good morning, distinguished trustees of the Deborah Morton Society, family, friends, and guests. I am honored to join present and past recipients who have been awarded such high distinction. I have had the privilege of working for my tribe, the Holton Band of Maliseet Indians, over the past 30 consecutive years. I am very proud to be a member, and I love my community. Over 15 years ago, I gathered the courage and made the decision to put my name forth to run for chief. It was not an attempt to make history as the first woman chief. It was an attempt to make change. I wanted to make a contribution, to make a difference, reunify our community, and to build a solid foundation for the future. At that time in our history, there were many obstacles and challenges. As a woman leader, I felt the need to work harder to prove that, yes, a woman can hold a position that was traditionally held by men. My friend Donna Loring would say, for every problem, there must be a solution. My friend Paul Bazilka would say, if you need me, call me, I will be there. And my cousin Sandy would always say, rise above this situation. Be the bigger person. Build your networks. Find the people in your lives that you can trust to help advise you. People will come and go in your life for a reason. Many remain that truly touch your heart. The message I impress upon our community and staff is that we control our own destiny, create our own vision, and chart our own course. We can do this. We will not give up. I am pleased to say that many positive changes have occurred against all odds, against the premonitions and views of others. Despite historical trauma, there is much to celebrate. Our government is strong. Our seasonal ceremonies are still held. Our language, though endangered, is still spoken. We are no strangers to challenges. Today, we looked to the future with the same hope, faith, and optimism that has sustained us since the beginning of time. Hope is both food and medicine for the soul. We have forged new relationships based upon mutual respect and continue to educate and build bridges with our town, state, federal, and international governments on whom we are and what we do. We have sown the seeds. It is true that we are full members of the larger Maine community as a whole, and as such, we face many of the same barriers and issues that you do. The more we can do for our members, the less we rely on the resource of others, including the state and federal government. Our goals are not so different from yours. Tribes have done much for themselves through progressive leadership, vision, talent, and a commitment to growth. We funnel millions of dollars into our local economies and work hard to be good neighbors that care about Maine. On a national level, each and every one of us is concerned about our environment. We believe that all of creation is sacred, and if we disturb this balance, we will suffer. Environmental stewardship is fundamental to our culture and cultural survival. We also believe if we take care of the land will take care of us. We must all do our part to protect Mother Earth, our land, our air, and water for our children and all of our unborn. I hope you share in this same dream. Through my experience in good and bad times, in the face of adversity, it is the people who give me strength. It is for them, our children, elders, and members, that move me. Look only for the good in people. I believe we must be accepting of all mankind, of all races, and treat each other with dignity and respect. Smile and be positive. It costs nothing. Life is short, and be thankful, for each new day is a gift. Here today with me, whom I admire, is my friend Paul, Donna, Rosa, Lori, and my sister Dina. I acknowledge my entire family, my mother, 6 brothers, and 3 sisters, for their support. Most importantly, my husband, Jim, who has stood beside me every step of the way. I thank all of them from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate your friends and families. I would like to leave you with a quote from John James Audubon. A true conservationist is a man who knows that the world is not given by his father, but borrowed from his children. Will Ewan, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Commander. And it does remind us, as Susan said, that in Maine, we are all extended family, and we all need to take care of each other, as well as this beautiful place. I would now like to call upon University Trustee Mike Morrell to present his Deborah Morton Award candidate.
Madam President, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the University of New England, it's my pleasure and privilege to present the 2012 Deborah Morton Award recipient, Dr. Wendy J. Wolf.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Wendy Wolf is the founding president and CEO of the Maine Health Access Foundation, Maine's largest health philanthropy dedicated to promoting access to quality health care. In its first decade, the foundation awarded $44 million to advance public policy and programs, such as expanding Maine's community health centers, transforming care delivery through the improved integration of primary behavioral health care, and spearheading the development of the nation's most comprehensive statewide health information exchange. Dr. Wolf had previously worked at the Federal Department of Health and Human Services as a senior advisor to the administrators of the Health Resources and Services Administration, as well as the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. She also served 20 years as a professor of pediatrics and division director of pediatric cardiology at the University of Texas Health Center. The University of New England and the Deborah Morton Society are pleased to present the Deborah Morton Award for 2012 to Dr. Wendy Wolf.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much, President Rippich, members of the board, and esteemed fellow colleagues in the Deborah Morton Society, and friends and guests, and I see many friends in the audience. Thank you for being here today. I'm really, truly humbled by this invitation to join so many outstanding women leaders who have enriched and strengthened the fabric of our society in Maine. You know, when I first heard about my selection for the Deborah Morton Society, I did what I assume many of the award recipients did. I, of course, Googled Deborah Morton and read everything I could about her so I could gain a deeper understanding of her life, her values, and her enduring contributions. And clearly, Deborah Morton was a woman who was deeply committed, a gifted educator, lifelong learner, and a mentor who did not appear to let the prejudices of the time really constrain either her passion or her purpose. Now, I have to admit something in full disclosure, that I was really chagrined to note that she taught French. And it's clear the selection committee did not consider my near failing grade in college French when they selected me to receive this prestigious award, and I am very grateful for this dispensation. So, you know, as you can see from the summary in the program, I've really been very fortunate to have a long career and practice as a physician, medical educator, a researcher, a health policy expert, prior to assuming my role now as the current founding president of the Maine Health Access Foundation. At the foundation, the board, the staff, and I share a deep passion to advance our mission of promoting access to health care and improving health for all Maine people, but in particular, those who are most vulnerable. It is really work that provides meaning and a greater sense of purpose for each of us. And for that, we are eternally grateful and energized every day. Now, there have been many people along the way who've shaped my values and my aspirations, and they weren't really mentioned in my resume. You know, some of the mentors really provided guidance and support to me, and others weren't inclined to be so helpful, but nevertheless they left their mark, and I'd like to give a nod to them also. But first, let me start with a positive mentor. Deborah Morton and my paternal grandmother really appeared to be cut from the same cloth. My grandmother, who attended Mount Holyoke in 1910, raised 6 children and ran the family newspaper publishing business. And every day she spoke to me about the importance of education. Now, she and my parents really taught me education was the key to every opportunity. Now, I would have liked to believe that is true, but as I got older, I learned that education alone is insufficient to turn aspiration into achievement. For that, you need a level playing field, and you need some mentors to help guide you along the way. So there were times in my career when the field did not seem so level, and mentors were hard to find. When I was interviewed for medical school, I never saw any women faculty, and the male members of the faculty who interviewed me would often ask why I should be given a coveted slot in the entrance class when I would just go out and have babies after graduation. At the reception, if you'd like to learn my reply, please come and ask me. Not suitable for public. Or, of course, there was a time I was threatened with expulsion when I called a prominent OBGYN faculty member a sexist because he continued to show Playboy cartoons of naked women to illustrate female reproductive biology. Later, as a faculty physician myself, I heard a department chair one time wonder aloud if they were hiring, quote, too many women. Of course, this was after decades of having all men faculty populating every sector of medicine. That was a somewhat surreal moment. Now, I suspect Deborah Morton knew how important it was to serve as a role model and mentor. It seemed as if this infused her career. I, too, felt it was important to fill some of the gaps that I had encountered. And I'm very proud that for nearly 10 years I served as a faculty member and mentor for a national leadership training program for women in academic medicine. And through that experience, I learned the value of building relationships, such as I'll have with the other Deborah Morton Society members, and building networks. And I hope that my inclusion in the society provides me one more opportunity to continue networking, learning, and mentoring women and men, and really cultivate the generation of leaders who can continue to enrich and serve our Maine communities. Now, finally, I'd like to close by acknowledging the contribution of my most important mentor, who is my partner, Mary, who for 28 years has been a constant provocateur, a challenger of all assumptions, a partner in promoting social justice, and truly a touch point for my internal moral compass. There is no better mentor than someone who stretches your moral and mental capacity every single day. And for that, and for all of my mentors and all of my friends, I am eternally grateful. And I thank you again for this honor.
Thank you very much, Wendy. And I'd like to thank all of our award winners. I'm reminded of that term, women's work. It often sort of had a disparaging connotation when we thought of it, but I look at the women's work sitting before you today, and because of that work, Maine has a children's museum. We have a wonderful laboratory for our Bigelow Oceans Society. We have a leader of a major tribe that's contributing to our state, and the Maine Health Access Foundation leadership and founding director. All of this is really women's work. These are wonderful contributions that are made by these Deborah Morton Society awardees. I want to thank all of you for coming today to help us celebrate and honor these outstanding women. And now I would turn the program over on behalf of the university to Dr. Rao.
Well, I think you will agree that they have done it again. They inspire us, they thrill us, they make us happy that we got up and drove from Bangor this morning. So I would like to add my congratulations to those of President Rippich, because you continue to be an inspiration to us all. And I want to thank those of you in the audience who joined us today, and encourage you personally to meet these ladies outside after the program and engage them in conversation and add your own personal words to them. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you again somewhere.